On May 27, 1942, in the occupied city of Prague, two resistance fighters stepped into the center of a street that would soon become one of the most important battlegrounds of the Second World War. Their target was Reinhard Heydrich, one of the most powerful and feared men in Nazi Germany. The architect of brutal repression, the overseer of mass executions, and one of the chief engineers behind the regime's most horrifying policies, Heydrich was known as the Butcher of Prague. But that morning, as he rode through the city in an open-top Mercedes, he had no idea that a daring mission was about to strike at the heart of Nazi leadership. The operation that brought these men to this moment was codenamed Anthropoid, and it remains one of the most remarkable and dangerous assassination missions ever attempted during the war. To understand why this mission was conceived and why Heydrich became its target, we must go back to the origins of his rise to power. Reinhard Heydrich was born into a respected German family, but it was his entry into the SS that transformed him into a ruthless instrument of the Nazi regime. He rose quickly, thanks to his intelligence, his ambition, and his absolute loyalty to Heinrich Himmler. Heydrich built and shaped the intelligence network of the SS, created the Gestapo's operational structure, and oversaw the expansion of the concentration camp system. His cold efficiency and chilling calmness earned him another nickname among the Nazi elite, the man with the iron heart. In September 1941, Hitler appointed Heydrich as the acting Reich Protector of Bohemia and Moravia, modern-day Czechia. His mission was clear: crush resistance, increase German control, and maximize production for the war effort. Heydrich imposed martial law, executed political opponents, deported thousands, and ruled with such brutality that Czech citizens lived in constant fear. Yet paradoxically, he also increased food rations, improved working conditions, and boosted Czech industry. These moves were strategic. He believed that productivity rose when people had just enough comfort to obey. By late 1941, Heydrich was at the peak of his power. He was feared by the Czechs, respected by the Nazi hierarchy, and considered a future successor to Hitler. But in London, the exiled Czechoslovak government saw an opportunity and a necessity. They needed a symbolic blow against German rule, something to prove that the Czech people were still fighting and to restore faith among the Allies that their nation deserved independence after the war. Thus, the plan to assassinate Heydrich was approved. Two soldiers of the Czechoslovak army in exile, Jozef Gabčík and Jan Kubiš, were selected for the mission at a secret British training facility. They trained for months in sabotage, explosives, firearms, and covert movement. They memorized Prague's streets, learned to survive behind enemy lines, and prepared for what was likely a one-way mission. In December 1941, they parachuted into the Protectorate under freezing winter skies. Their first challenge was simply staying alive. They linked up with Czech resistance groups, moved between safe houses, and scouted Heydrich's routine. The Reich Protector traveled daily from his villa in the suburbs to his office at Prague Castle. He refused to use armored vehicles, refused additional security, and preferred an open convertible, believing his authority made him untouchable. The ambush point was chosen carefully, a sharp curve on a narrow road in the Prague district of Líběn. At that bend, Heydrich's driver would be forced to slow down. The plan was simple. Gabčík would step into the street and fire his Sten gun at Heydrich. If that failed, Kubiš would throw a modified anti-tank grenade. May 27th arrived. At approximately 10:30 a.m., Heydrich's Mercedes approached the bend. Gabčík stepped into the street, raised his weapon, and pulled the trigger. The gun jammed. For a split second, everything seemed lost. Heydrich stood up in the car, shouting orders at his driver. But that moment of surprise gave Kubiš the chance he needed. He hurled his grenade at the vehicle. The explosion tore through the car's side, sending shrapnel into Heydrich's body and injuring both assassins. Despite his wounds, Heydrich staggered out of the car with his pistol and attempted to chase his attackers on foot. Gabčík fled through a butcher shop. Kubiš escaped on a bicycle. The assassins vanished into the city before German patrols could seal the streets. Heydrich was taken to a hospital. At first, it seemed he might survive. German doctors operated on him, and Himmler sent specialists from Berlin. But infection set in. On June 4, 1942, Reinhard Heydrich died. Hitler was furious. The assassination had succeeded. What followed was one of the most brutal reprisals of the entire war. Nazi authorities unleashed terror across Bohemia and Moravia. Thousands were arrested, interrogated, tortured, or executed. The villages of Lidice and Ležáky were destroyed completely. Every man shot, women deported, children taken away. It was collective punishment on an unimaginable scale. Meanwhile, Gabčík, Kubiš, and the other paratroopers hid in the Orthodox Church of Saints Cyril and Methodius in Prague. For weeks they evaded capture, sustained by members of the resistance. But the betrayal came from within. A Czech collaborator informed the Gestapo of their location. On June 18, 1942, more than 700 German SS and police units surrounded the church. A fierce gun battle erupted. Inside the crypt, the last defenders, including Gabčík, refused to surrender. After hours of fighting, with ammunition running out, they chose to die by their own hands rather than be taken alive. The crypt was later flooded by the SS in a final attempt to break the resistance. The mission was over. The cost was devastating, but its impact was enormous. Operation Anthropoid demonstrated to the world that Czech resistance was active and determined. It forced the Allies to repudiate the Munich Agreement, restoring international recognition to the exiled Czechoslovak government. Heydrich's death disrupted Nazi administration in the region and removed one of the regime's most capable and dangerous leaders. Today, Anthropoid is remembered as one of the most courageous covert operations of the Second World War, a story of sacrifice, patriotism, and impossible odds. The crypt where the final battle took place is now a memorial. The men who carried out the mission are honored as national heroes. This was not just an assassination, it was a message, a symbol, a reminder that resistance can exist even under the darkest tyranny. You've been watching WW2 War Files, where the secret missions and forgotten stories of the Second World War are brought back to life. If this story inspired you, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep historical investigation. And tell us in the comments, would you have had the courage to carry out a mission like this?